everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Public Opinion with your host, Pam Morton. Public Opinion is the current event discussion and debate show that gives participants the opportunity to discuss and debate their opinion on some of the hottest topics in the news today. So this is how it works. Each participant that I call an opinionator is given 2 minutes to respond to the public opinion question for the week. And then after that, the floor is open for healthy discussion and debate. So let's get started and meet our opinionators for this week. So the first opinionator for this week is Kim Tyler Chappell. Kim is a retired education administrator. And then we have Regina. Regina is a former prosecutor. So thank you, ladies, so much for coming. I'm so happy to have you all on the show. Can't wait to hear what your responses are to this week's public opinion question. So let's find out what that question is. President Trump has stated on several occasions, and his son-in-law Jared Kushner agrees, that he has done more for African Americans with the exception of Lincoln. What is your understanding of what he has done, and what, if anything, do you think he or Joe Biden should do for African Americans if reelected or elected? Okay, so I am going to start with Kim. Kim, I'm going to give you your 2 minutes starting now.
Thank you, Pam, for inviting me. I think this is a great forum. People always have a lot of opinions, and seldom do they have a forum to share those opinions. So this is a great service that you're doing, allowing us to get a lot of things off of our chest. Donald Trump's proclamation that he has done more for African Americans basically than Lincoln, to me, is offensive. How a known racist can compare himself and his alleged accomplishments to a person who released slaves, I find that very interesting. He is a known racist for a lot of different reasons. He endorses white supremacy. He called Black Lives Matter a hate group. He has refused to acknowledge George Floyd and Breonna Taylor's murders by white policemen. He has refused to rent to African Americans in New York City in the 1970s because of the color of their skin. He has called for the death penalty of the Central Park Five, and he seems to have no remorse over that. He never apologized for that. Comparing himself to Abraham Lincoln, there's a lot of history behind that. And Abraham Lincoln, while he did emancipate the slaves, there was, I would say, another reason he did that. It wasn't purely because he was just a very charitable person and he wanted to release the slaves. There was an economic reason behind the reason that he emancipated the slaves. And this was by basically asking the slave owners to compensate the slaves. And he knew that they couldn't do that.
All right. Kim, your time is up. Thank you so much. And now we're going to hear from Regina. And Regina, your time starts now.
Thank you, Pam, for doing this. And, I don't like talking, but for you, I'll do this. And this campaign and election year has given me a lot to say. I feel like I can't be silent anymore. My biggest problem with Donald Trump and what he's doing is that he's disingenuous. And by that, I mean, there's certain things that he's done to say that he's done more for Black people than Lincoln. What I concentrated on when I was thinking about it is, well, the first thing he did was back in the beginning, I think it was Black History Month, and he made the statement about Frederick Douglass being a good person, which means that he had no idea who Frederick Douglass was to even say something stupid like that. And what was even more offensive to me was that he was surrounded by a bunch of quote unquote Black leaders, and nobody took the time to tell him, Frederick Douglass is dead, So that whole thing kind of bothered me. And then another thing that he says, well, he's done the empowerment zones or the opportunity zones. And that's a bunch of crap. One reason is that it's all good on paper, but the people that are actually getting the benefit of the opportunity zones are not the people that live in the community. If anything, maybe their housing value goes up, but investors are coming in, and instead of putting money into the community, they're building luxury apartments, things like that, so that it's not really for the benefit of the community, and they're not getting the tax breaks, and people of color, women aren't getting the contracts to build, so it sounds good, it looks good on paper, but he's not really doing anything. And then
all right, Regina, your time is up as well, but we're going to continue this conversation.
Yeah, let me continue with one thing, Pam, because this is big. Okay, I just found this.
It sounds like she's in the presidential debates. Now, wait a minute, I'm not done. All right, we're going to go ahead. I'm going to let you finish because this is great. Because then I'm going to let Kim continue to say something, and then we're going to have a nice discussion about this. Go ahead, Regina.
Okay. Well, this is big because I just found this out, and I want everybody to know, even though like during these recent campaign things, he's been talking about the opportunity zones. There is an executive order that he just signed a couple of weeks ago that basically says that they're not going to give funds to any body on the basis of racial or I'm not sure exactly how to put it, but all the stuff that he said he was doing for the HBCUs is he's can take it away with that executive order, because the flip side is a white person can come and say, oh, you're discriminating towards me by funding these colleges. So they said that, well, we didn't mean it like that, but that's what they wrote. So, they may not mean it like that now, but the way it's worded is very concerning. So that's just what I wanted to bring up. I'm not articulating it very well, but
no, you're fine. That's absolutely right. And Kim, did you have anything else that you wanted to say?
Well, I was going to piggyback off of what she said. Trump seems to feel that this is a unique funding that he's giving to HBCUs, and it really isn't. Obama gave funding over the 7 years of $4 billion to historical Black colleges and universities, and Congress that's something that Congress has to renew every year. So for Trump to act like he is the originator of that, or that no one else is giving Black colleges any funding, is just erroneous. It's ridiculous, and as you said, he's not even fulfilling half of the promises that he made when he signed that renewal. So, it's nothing that he's done.
Yeah. And, when I heard that, and I've been hearing it like you all have, I've been hearing this statement for a while now, this big pronouncement that he's done more for African Americans. And then I said to myself, now, if one person has done that much for such a large group of people, and you are hard pressed to find anybody who can actually recite or articulate what he has done. I mean, there's some, headlines and things, but I would think that if he had done that much for African Americans, just about every African American would be able to say, oh yeah, he did this. He's the man. I really like him. I mean, I'm sure when President Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act, I would venture to say that most African Americans that had any awareness of anything would be able to tell you, yes, this is what happened. Yes, we're going to have civil rights. Or they may have found out about it maybe 48 hours later, or even maybe a week, but you found out. You found out when you went to the counter and you could go there and nobody said, no, you can't sit here. All kinds of things, or I can go and do this. But I had to actually do some research just to try to even see what is this everybody is talking about. So what were you all able to find, if anything, other than what you have just said?
Oh, you know what? He hasn't really held true to anything that he said. A lot of the, like Black unemployment, for instance, that's been trending over a period of time. And it's not like he came in and lowered the unemployment. This was something that was trending from the Obama era. And it's gone up right now because of the pandemic. But routinely, the unemployment of Black Americans has always been 4.6% higher than anyone else's, as well as their wages have been 60% less. So he hasn't changed any of that. He works off of other people's accomplishments and then acts like they're his.
Right. And Regina, did you read anything, or do you know anything about that the criminal justice reform thing? He keeps touting and saying he wants to hold his hat pretty much on criminal justice reform. And just wondering if you read, what do you know about that?
The little bit that I do know about it is that he really has only targeted certain people that are benefiting from it. It's a lot of words. He just picked like maybe one or two people and he brought them to the Republican National Convention thing and showed that he pardoned them. The one lady, Alice Johnson, I think is her name, the grandmother that was in jail for the drug charge. Mm-hmm. He hasn't done much. It's all words, and it's all there until you ask him to produce it, and then there's nothing to back it up. And
that's I don't know. For them to just say that's something that's just going to help Black people is offensive in and of itself. Like, all we are associated with is crime, and if you do something to help with that, then you've helped all African Americans. But I think that's offensive in and of itself as well. But even with that, like you said, Regina, it's like he's a lot of talk, and Kim, you said it too. He wants to try to take credit for things that already have been in place or have started, and then he wants to come along later and say, oh, I did this. Just like it's all trending in the news now about how Jared Kushner said, and he told, what was that man, Bob Woodward, about how Trump wants to be able to take the credit, when things open all up, but he wants the governors of each state really to have to bear the brunt if things don't go right or whatever. Mm-hmm. So he seems like the kind of person that wants to come in and say, oh, I want to take credit for that. But with that criminal justice reform thing, and when I was reading about it, actually President Obama had started the sentencing thing where you were reducing sentencings and things of that nature. And so Trump signed something that made it retroactive back to what Obama already had put in place. So
that's true.
It's like one of those kids that want to take credit for doing something, but don't want to do the work.
And another interesting point on that is Bill Barr has blocked a lot of inmates who have applied for the First Step Act. That's what he calls it. Obama called it the Fair Sentencing Law. Same thing. And Bill Barr has gone in, and what he's done is he's raised the standards so that a lot of the people that are applying to get released won't meet the standards, and he's putting them back in prison. It's a joke.
It really is. It really is a joke. But the sad thing about it is a lot of people believe the things that he says, because a lot of people will not do research. A lot of people would not look to see, well, is he telling the truth? Or, if it sounds good, he's a good salesperson. And so my fear is that with a lot of these young Black men as well, if all they hear about is criminal justice reform, or he's doing something to get people, then they're like, oh, okay, well, he's a good guy. So that's concerning. So, and a lot of people are not going to do the research that they need to do. So they need people like us to tell them, look, don't fall for what people call the okie doke or whatever, because it's not going to work. Right. It really is not.
This is kind of an aside, but it'll make both of you smile. Remember back in the summer when they had the Tulsa rally, and he was going to do it on Juneteenth,
Oh, yeah.
And they told him to make it the day after. He actually said nobody knew what Juneteenth was until I brought it up. And one of the things that we're still waiting on is he's going to make that a national holiday. That's what he said. Because nobody knew about it until he brought it to our attention. So.
I mean, no one knows anything. He's the smartest of everything. He's the best at everything, it's unbelievable. It really is. Now, the other part of the question, though, was what do you think that he should be doing for African Americans if he's reelected? And what should Joe Biden do for African Americans if he is elected? And Kim, I'll let you answer that.
Okay. Well, I think Joe Biden's on the right path. He is sincere. I truly believe that he picked an excellent running mate. Kamala Harris, I have to pronounce her name correctly, is an excellent choice because she does have varying views on a lot of things that he's campaigned on. And I think that he's willing to listen to her, and almost be like he and Obama, where they'll have a rapport with each other, talk with each other about pertinent and important situations and not things that sound good. Like Trump is throwing out all these keywords like crime rate statistics and Black unemployment and poverty. He talks a good game, but I think the combination of Kamala and Biden will actually use these same topics and do something about them.
Mm-hmm. And Regina, what do you think that if Joe Biden is elected, what do you think that he should do for African Americans?
I think the biggest thing is that he has the ability the empathy and to meet people where they're at. So I expect him to form a commission or just the people that I'm really excited that he's going to have a staff around him that's going to be very diversified and willing to work together. So I see that, and I'm really encouraged by that. And he listens to women,
yes,
which is huge because it's just a total opposite from Trump. And I know that Susan Rice will probably be a part of the cabinet because Trump has messed us up so much with foreign affairs. We need somebody that knows what they're doing to get back in there, and he has a very close relationship with her. So I'm looking forward to her being a part of it. And as far as Trump goes, I really don't think there's anything that he could do because he's not going to do anything except talk. So I think the only way if he does get reelected, then we have to make sure that we flip the Senate and we keep control of the House, because that's the only way things are going to get done. Because relying just on him and the people that he surrounds himself with, nothing's going to happen.
Yes, that's a very good point. We always had to remember that it's not just the president. It's, we have Congress, we have the Senate. They all have to work to try to work together to pass the things that are going to affect us. I have to say, I'm not really so much interested in one particular or a couple of things for African Americans, because I do truly believe that a president needs to be the president for all of the people. And so I think if he's doing what's right for all of the people, then all of the people can benefit. I mean, now, if I had to think of some things, and this would affect or help other people as well, not just African Americans, but I think of kids in college and how, they're in so much debt when they get out of college, and there needs to be something done to help people have affordable college. There definitely has to be some more things done about healthcare, because as we see, as a result of the pandemic and COVID, so many African American people and people of color have been affected disproportionately because of the fact that they don't have the proper health care and benefits and things of that nature. So I really think that's something that needs to be done. But as far as is Donald Trump, I'm in agreement with the both of you that I really don't think he's done all that much for Black Americans. And I certainly don't think he's done more than any other president. But he can continue to say that if he wants to, and we can hope that by next week, we won't have to continue to hear that type of spin. But we are out of time now. But thank you, ladies, so much for agreeing to be on here and for talking about this. And as always, all I can say is we have got to get out there and vote.
Absolutely.
And vote like our lives depend upon it. And this is the time that we have, and we cannot let this go. But thank you all so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Sam.
It's been fun.
Okay, so I think the general consensus from today's episode is that President Trump really has not done all that much for African Americans. If you like my show, please push like and subscribe. And until next week, I'll see you next time for another episode of Public Opinion with Pam Morton, because everybody's entitled to their own opinion.